Good morning, everyone. I'm Rhonda Burkhart with HCC, and this morning we're going to be doing a review of the budgeting process. And I'm going to show you, we are going to, I'm just blocking my screen. It's always the issue, the screen block here. Something's always there. Okay, so on the HCC website, over on State Software Redesign, there is, I'm trying to think where the budgeting is, recording. So we did one last year, right here, and our recording, it's pretty much the same. I just wanted to kind of just quickly run through the process and then point out some kind of just some, make sure you remember this type things, because that can affect how your accounts, the budgets on your accounts are appearing. So we'll go ahead when we're done with this one. We'll also put it under the recordings for the specific topics, and we'll just call it USAS budgeting 2024, so I just kind of have the latest and greatest there. So we'll go ahead and start overall reviewing of the process with a guide here. So it's going to have two items under the budgeting on your USAS, and that is the scenarios for creation of the overall scenario, and then you will promote that up to the proposed amount. And when they're on the proposed amounts, you'll see them on the next year proposed on your grid. So I have a demonstration here, just kind of showing where that is. You can see in the proposed amount, I did just a one-line budget here just to demonstrate this. And so I just have this, it's been promoted. It has not been applied. That's for the fiscal year 23 year. So we got 50,000 in this 006 account. And then I've got another one right here. So 006 and 21. And when that filters out, you can go over here, and then you can see on this next year proposed, that's showing where that is. So that's just showing where that's going to show up. So you don't have to apply it to see it. That's a good thing to see, because then you can always list the things kind of in line. It's like, okay, I've got this proposed, I haven't applied it. This is what it's looking like with my budget. All right. So then a single scenario you can do, you can have different ones. You go to your budgeting and your budgeting scenarios, and you create one to start it off. And then make sure your fiscal year is correct there and a good description. I always like to put the fiscal year in all three of these. If you just put like initial budget, then it's not terribly clear of what it is, even though you can see it's 2022. And then you'd create your sheet, which is similar to creating a report. We like to use a budwork looking type. And so for the base sheet of what they normally give you, we add in this 2-year and 3-year expenditures. I always like, as an accountant, I like to see, what did I spend 3 years ago, 2 years ago, last year, what am I doing currently? And it gives you a nice kind of a run and kind of show you that history. So it helps you budget for the future. Okay. And then you can also go to that next tab, the filters tab, and specify different things, like you put food service or fund 006. Here we've got the fund equals 006. You can also, do greater than, less than, between that type of thing helps to minimize exactly what you want to see for that specific budgeting spreadsheet. And then this, one thing I want to kind of deviate on for the moment is the cloning and this regenerate sheet. So I want to go to the example right now. So you could go into this, we're going to use fiscal 22. You can view it and you can see there's a clone. So if you've got something set up where, you know, oh, I love this, I love what I did last year. You know, a lot of the districts are into several years of budgeting. So this is kind of like, we're getting the hang of this. We've got a setup that we like. You can just go in there and clone it. Here we go. We're just going to clone that. It might take a little bit. I only have food service in here, so sometimes they take a little time. You can do fiscal year 23. Budget. And then down here is 2023. Tanya, I'm hearing some feedback. If you could mute. Not sure.
I looked. I can't
if you
mute.
Can mute it. You can't mute it. Okay.
Nope.
Yeah, let me stop sharing for one moment. Let me save this real quick. I'm gonna mute. There we go. I think we got that taken care of. Go back to where we were. Great. So I've cloned this for fiscal year 23. So you'll definitely want to, okay, you want to just make sure that that is a proposed amount for 2023. If you're doing that, accept that. You could, when you download it and re-upload it, you could re-upload it as fiscal year 23 under that kind of right there. Sure if we can update the file name here. And then also this regenerate. Oh, Lisa's got her hand raised. Try and unmute you.
Do you mean
Okay,
FY24?
Lisa, do you have a question? Oh, well, see, the issue is with our test instance, it was done back in fiscal year 22.
Oh, okay.
So we have to, using this test instance, we have to do, like, I've got budgeting for 22, and then I'm doing it for 23. You know, just like, oh, this is going to be like for next year. So
Okay.
it's just because of the nature of our test instance. Sorry about that.
It's okay.
Okay.
Rhonda, you're muted.
Is that better? Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, great. Sorry about that. Okay. So you just, right now we're in 24 and you'll be doing your budgeting for 25, but unfortunately with our test instance, it's kind of living in the past there. So we have to just kind of live within our, how things are set up for us right now. So if you've added some accounts and you did a clone for your scenario, it would be really good to regenerate your sheet right off the bat. So that's something you want to go, I'm going to clone it. I'm going to go ahead and regenerate any sheets I have. So doing this will pick up your, so we've got our 3 and our 2 in there. So that's going to go ahead and pick up your sheets. I'm wondering why I did that. It should have just regenerating it. Should have just picked up the sheets or the new accounts. I'm going to double check on that. Okay. Yeah, that just doing that would have picked that up. So when you clone, then you want to hit this regenerate sheet, and that kind of refreshes it and includes any new accounts that have been added during the year. So just wanted to point that one out. Back to it. All right, and then downloading it into Excel, you can also update from this edit button, but personally, I prefer to download it into Excel. It just makes it easier, I think, to, add in some formulas if you do it that way. You could download, you can add some Excels, you can do some formulas with like averages, if that's how you do your budget, percentages, that helps a lot. I just like the flexibility that Excel allows you to do with kind of like, if you want to filter to a certain group of accounts, you can do that. Maybe you're doing like, I want a budget for all my salaries, just kind of take kind of a magnifying glass to that, budget for my salaries, and then do my benefits, or maybe keep my salaries and benefits together to see that, how that one plays out on the other. I use this edit key for just maybe like, oh, I've got a last minute change. So there's several places that you can update and change the account budgeting information. When you download it into Excel, you can change it there. And that's where I personally like to do a lot of those changes and updates. There's this edit key right here. I like to do those for what I call the onesie twosies. Like, oh, I have new information, and I know this cost is going to increase. Just found that out. You can do that here. The other place where you can do that, so you can do it right here, say right here, like, oh, I've got some updated information. I got something that moved here. There. Yeah. So right here, maybe I've got some updated information. Maybe it was 10,000. Maybe I need to change that to 12,000. All right, and then I can accept that. Always accept is like the change. And so then that saves that there. The other, you can download it into Excel and make updates there. This is where I like to do most of them, personally. Might take a little bit to waiting to see where that pops up at. It's over on the other screen. Okay. So when you download it into Excel, it's got that. So you can make those changes here. Always make sure that this is the proposed amount, PA, for the year that you're budgeting for. Otherwise, it won't show up correctly. You can load that back on there. And then when you're going into promoting it, then it won't show up in the right fiscal year section on your promotions. So there's the Excel sheet. There's the edit key where you can make adjustments. And when you've done all your changes on here, you would save that. And then you can upload that. Make sure you're doing it in the right one. Upload and replace. And so if you made any changes, it will overwrite that. And then always save, save, save. I always think, well, I'm uploading it and saving it. I want to make sure I save this scenario as well. And then when here's this one, you can promote it. Then you'll promote that. It's going to replace all existing proposed amounts. So I like that they gave you the warning. that what you had before for your proposed amounts, it's going to replace those. So when you're looking in your core accounts, it'll be replaced with whatever this is. And so if you promote that, that is going to be replaced here. So whatever we had there is getting replaced. So we didn't budget anything. So another place, so we talked about two places where you can make changes, the Excel spreadsheet and then the edit over when you're looking at the individual scenario. You can also make a change here. So you can just add in your account there, just say, maybe we'll make that 12,000 and save that. So there we go. And this, again, this is updated information. I just received it. This is the place where you want to do that type of thing. And then as you notice, the delete key isn't highlighted. You don't click to apply the budget. And you'll see when I started clicking, the apply went to a shadow and the delete, went to a, the bright solid. This is an active key. So selecting the accounts here is only for deleting them off the field. So when you're ready to apply, you would go ahead and apply those, and then it will give you the choice of doing a permanent or a temporary. Just make sure if you're doing permanent, you know that it's permanent. So let's go ahead and go back. We did the download. We covered that. We covered how the formulas can be used. And a really neat one is, like, you could use an average. So you could say, oh, for this, I want an average. I want an average over the last. I want that one. I want that last 3 years, 2 years, prior year extended. I'm going to average that one into, and then I want to say, you know what, I'm going to take the average, and then maybe it's going to be like 2% higher. And you can do that, and that will figure that out for you. So the formulas in Excel are very powerful. Also, if you want to do a data filter, if you just want to focus on, it's like, I just want to focus on my salaries. And then that's all that's selected. It's kind of nice to just kind of drill down and just focus on those items that, I just need to want to focus on this one thing. The whole thing's overwhelming. So that's helpful as well. I'm kind of an Excel guru, so I got to get into this. All right, as I said, it's a great time saver if you can use formulas, copying down those. Just make sure you review everything. There, as I said, there's an edit button there. You can upload and replace. We reviewed that. And then it does have that, you're going to replace that sheet and overwrite your budgeting amounts. So it does give you some warnings on that. There's an upload. You always want to make sure it's in the XLSX format. Went over the promotion. And then we went over not this, if you check that upper box under create, that is going to select all of those, and it's not to apply, it's to delete. So just keep that in mind when you're selecting the box. I know it's kind of a little different than in the other modules in redesign. And everything that's in the proposed amount will appear in the proposed in the grid. We looked at that. I think what I had an 006-3120 that had a proposed. See, that has the next year proposed, that 12,000 that was in that proposed grid there. So that will show up, and it's not applied, it's just in the proposed. There it is. And then when you promote things, it will wipe out anything that's already in there. So you just want to make sure that you're mindful of that, and not just in, if you're doing budgets and revenues, it's not just wiping out of budgets, it's wiping out of the revenues as well. So here's just a quick overview for creating the proposed amount within the section. You can create it right there too. If you want to, maybe, oh, we've got a brand new account, we have to add that on. You can do that right there as well. So here we are. So maybe we're in like an 006, 141. You know, maybe we want to add something for this. Make sure you choose your fiscal year. And maybe that needs to be 14,000. And save that. Oh, that's because that's right there. If you have an extra account that you've created, then you can add it right in there. So another important thing to remember when doing budgets is when entering your adjustment, it needs to be what you want the end result to be. So if I'm changing it to 14,000 and I'm doing an adjustment, then you'll want to make sure that you're putting in 14,000, not 2,000 to increase it from 12,000 to 14,000. You just want that end result. I want the end result to be 14,000, not 12,000. So you would enter in the 14,000 right there if you're doing an adjustment. The system will calculate it and enter it in. It'll calculate that difference and enter the adjustment in. So you can view the proposed amount, you can edit the proposed amount. Right there, so we can take that, we can do a 14 there. Save that. We just edited that. I just need to make a quick change type thing. New information. You can delete it off the screen. You can do the per account or the mass delete, just with that circled X, or you can select several and delete that. Now, one really important thing, and I'm kind of glad it does this, is it will only do the accounts visible in the grid when using the mass delete. So you would, if you're deleting the whole thing, then you would have to do multiple, select it for multiple screens to delete everything on that screen. Or, if you have another upload, you can just do a promote and that will wipe everything off. Another useful tip is once you've promoted those, then you've promoted them and you've applied your budget, you can go ahead and delete the next year proposed if you would like to. If you don't, then it'll just be overwritten again with the next promotion. All right, and there's different types of proposing. There's the temporary, which you can do over and over again until you're ready for your permanent. And then there's the adjustment. So there's 3 different types that you can do. And then we have some just describing the differences right here in the guide. And if it's permanent, like the one important thing is, if it's permanent, the full year is automatically check marked and it'll be shaded, and you cannot uncheck that. That is, the permanent is for the entire year. So That's good to keep in mind. All right, and then we discussed cloning, which is important, and then updating your sheet names with that. And then if you need to update after you've cloned, just double check your proposed amount column to see if that needs to be updated or not. Okay, now for the really useful part. The useful tips. Can Google Sheets be used for your budgeting spreadsheet upload? Absolutely, and that's very helpful. You'll just make up your sheet, you'll download it, and then you can load that up into the Google Sheets. But just remember when you import it back into USAS in your budgeting scenario, that it has to be in XLSX format. And then can you create your own budget sheets? Yes, you can. It's basically a budwork, and then you can use the next year proposed. You'll add that in and then update that title for the PA202X. I think this is a good way to do it, but I just prefer to make it the sheets within the budget scenario framework. I just think that's easier to do. Okay, other good to know things. There's budget spreadsheets and revenue spreadsheets, and I updated the link this year for that. They changed the wiki as far as SSDT goes, so I updated that with a new link to where you would go to look at that in the wiki guide. And you can download those from there if you need to. And one other thing, I think I've said the opposite of this to districts, but everybody learns, and I usually point out that you should have the ID field in there, and I usually make sure it's in there. But I've found that as long as all the account columns in the JSON file are in the file, then you don't need the ID column, because you'll have all the pieces of your account, plus you'll have that it's like proposed amount 2025 for this year. So we used to have it where you had to have the ID column. I still like to have it. I'm just kind of, it's a safety factor just in case, and but you don't have to. We discussed the regenerating of the sheet button in the budgeting scenarios. So if you do that and it regenerates the sheet, that's going to pull in those new accounts. You want to make sure that you do that at the beginning of your budgeting process, because if you do that after you've uploaded it here, then it's going to wipe out your amount that you've already put in and all that hard work, but you've probably saved it in Excel and you can re-upload that. It's just you're going to have to get that new account in there. So it's just easier to, when you clone it, if you're cloning, then regenerate the sheet. It's going to pull in the new accounts that you've created during the year, and then you'll download it, work with it in Excel, get the numbers as you like, and then you upload it. And then, of course, the next step would be, when you're all done, you'd promote it into the promoted amount, and then accept it to post it into those accounts. So after your scenario's been promoted, let's see. Yeah, that we just reviewed how to update those with that edit button if you have last minute changes. And we discussed the different places where you can make changes in your original spreadsheet, on your budgeting spreadsheets, which is in the scenarios right here. You can make the change in the proposed amounts still. And then again, once the scenario is promoted, any successive scenario that is promoted for the same year will remove it. I keep reiterating this, but I can't, stress how important that is, because sometimes you'll get a lot of work done and then you'll make some final adjustments. And then if you're like, oh, wait a minute, I've got some extra things to do, and you go and you promote again, you've wiped out all your work. So you just want to just be careful when you're using the budgeting. And here's an example of where someone had something and they wiped it out. It got wiped out. Another item is sometimes when you're doing all this filtering and uploading, you might have multiple spreadsheets within the same scenario that have the same account. So the question is, which one gets loaded permanently, or within that, which one gets accepted first? And it's the one that's listed first in the upload. Okay, so I tested that back in here. I had I think it was a 22 and the 22 test budget. Okay, so I had this test food service, multiple accounts. I did that. I think I put in maybe one account in there, and I had a different amount to test that out. And I had the same one in this first spreadsheet, and the system took this first spreadsheet, that account in that first spreadsheet, it ignored the secondarily listed duplicate account. So it's kind of like thinking about food service, first come, first serve. So it just takes that first one it comes across. If it finds that account again, it does not replace it in this secondary spreadsheet down below that first one. So that's an important thing to keep in mind. So I just want to quickly go over again our steps for budgeting. There's a create to create a scenario. You can also do a clone if you want to clone last year's, and then after you would clone, when you edit, I would go ahead and do this regenerate sheet to pull in any new accounts into next year's budgeting. So, and then you would download right here, brings it into Excel, do most of your budgeting in Excel. After you're done with that, you would upload it back into the scenario and then save, always save. I can't stress saving enough. And then when you're done with that, you would go ahead and you'd promote it into the scenario. That takes you into the next portion, promote to propose, and two double P's. And then they will be listed here. If you have any last minute final adjustments, make that 23, there we go. You can make the adjustments right here and save those. If you have any that shouldn't be listed, you can delete those right there. And then when you're done, make sure there's nothing checked if you want to apply, and you can apply it right there. And you can choose permanent, temporary, or adjustments for those. And when you do your adjustments, make sure that this amount would be the amount you want it to be, not the amount of the change. The system will calculate that for you. All right. That's a lot. And I just wanted to know if there's any questions regarding what we discussed. And we're always free to do a one-on-one session. I think Lisa's got her hand up. I am unmute you. Okay, come on. There it goes. Okay, you're unmuted now. What's your question, Lisa?
There was nothing. It was probably from earlier, Rhonda. I'm okay.
Oh,
Thank you.
okay. All right, I clarified it. Okay. And anybody have any other questions? I know we've had a couple of tickets on this. I can always discuss those one-on-one, or if you have a general question. See if Lisa. Oh, it's kind of hard to unmute people. Not able to do that. Trying to unmute. Oh, okay. You're unmuted again, Lisa. Did you have another question?
No, I
Or is it
didn't,
still up from
but
the
it
first one?
comes up on the block. Just so you know, it comes in the center of your screen and it says you are being requested to unmute. And so that's why I did it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
All
it
right.
comes
And I
it comes
think
right on there.
I click it to lower the hand. There we go. If your questions are
Yeah,
answered.
okay.
All right. So,
I
all
will mute
right.
myself back.
Okay, so if there aren't any other questions, we'll go ahead, we'll finalize the recording, we'll put it on our website where we normally have those. And it's going to be YouTubed. So the thing that we really like about our YouTube is when we did them on the WebEx, one thing is you don't need the password anymore. And the other thing is the recordings don't expire after a specified amount of time. The WebEx, they would last for a year, so we'd have to basically redo our webinars every single year. And this way we don't have to do that. Their guides are already up there, I believe. And also, there's another one that another topic is coming up. You know, it's April, halfway in there, almost tax day, and we're heading into May. And that is time for 5-year forecast. We also have our guide for the 5-year forecast submissions, and we also have the webinar, which we did last year on the 5-year forecast and how to do it. You can view that. I don't believe anything's changed. So, you know, just maybe the arrangement of our website when I'm explaining about that. But that video is up there on the WebEx or the YouTube now as well. So you can review that if you need to do that. And we're always free to assist you when you're uploading your 5-year forecast. I know it's just kind of everything circles around every year. So it's almost that time again. So if you have any other questions that are district specific, we'll be glad to answer them. I hope everybody has a wonderful day. Thank you so much.